All right, we are on air. It is March 23rd, and this is a quick check-in meeting on outreach for Backdrop CMS. I rearranged the agenda a little bit so we can talk about the website first, since that seems to be getting the most attention right now. Since our last outreach meeting, we did manage to launch new layouts for backdropcms.org, the main website, which is great. And we've got now a couple of other follow-up tests about getting the new homepage content created and then deployed. And there's a bunch of little follow-up stuff we can do kind of in parallel to working on the content. I don't know if you want to give an update on that, Mike. I don't think anything has changed since last week, but since it's been 2 weeks since we did outreach, I don't know if it's valuable to go over it again. But anyone who's interested in what that looks like, you can look at backdropcms.org where it's all deployed. So thanks, Mike, for putting some pressure on us to get that first step done. I think that that's going to help move things forward again. Next on the list of other stuff we're doing to the website is getting our showcase done. We also have another issue to create more useful sales pitch type information, and I think that ties into the idea of creating specific landing pages for groups we want to target, like specific nonprofit page or a specific higher education page. We also have some minor to-dos about figuring out how to optimize the site for search results and adding more information about our culture, and then making it a little bit easier to use by adding things like single sign-on with GitHub. Those are less urgent, and we'll get to them when we get to them. We also have just soft launched our forum, which is at forum.backdropcms.org. It's up, it's live. If you want to add forum posts, you can. The one thing that's not working super smoothly is that Bakery module is what allows you to sign on from the forum site to the master site. It seems to be throwing a little bit of a tantrum if you're already logged into backdropcms.org and you try to log into the forum. It'll tell you access denied when it should just say, oh, you're already logged in, and log you in seamlessly. So we have an issue. We're working on that. And hopefully if we get that resolved, we can start to promote the forum site. I don't know if there's anything else we need to do on the forum site. I was thinking it might be good if we wanted to look through the issue queue and see if there's anything there where we're like, this should really be discussed on the forum, and move it into the forum to sort of seed the forum with things we want people to talk about, so that if we get a bunch of people, like we put an ad for the forum into our newsletter, if we get a bunch of people landing there, they have discussions they can participate in right away, not having to create their own, I think would be a good starting point. But I'm also not aware of if those issues in our issue queue are tagged in a way that's easy to find them, or if it's just something that like, oh, a really long time ago we had this idea, but we didn't have a forum, and since then it's been lost. But that is something we could think about, like going forward, if we see things where like, oh, this should be a discussion, this isn't necessarily an issue, we can move it into the forum. So yeah, I guess right now the only blockers for promoting the forum are fixing Bakery and then possibly creating content. But if anyone has any other ideas about when we should start telling people to use that, that would be good to know too. Anything else we should talk about for websites before I move on to newsletter? Not yet. Okay. So the newsletter has gotten a little traction this month already too. The folks from Facet are trying to figure out what kind of content we want to put in there, and they have offered to author a blog post for us that we could post and then use the content of the blog post in the newsletter. We did have some feedback from some other people in the community first. So we're trying to figure out whether Graham72 in particular was going to be able to write a blog post on the state of contrib for Backdrop in time to send that newsletter or not, or if we should draft some other content first. And so we have this content strategy map that Facet created for us last month that includes all of the types of content that we want to offer people on our website, whether that should be documentation pages or videos or blog posts, and then how we're planning on distributing that information, like if that needs to have a supporting email newsletter sent out or not. And that helps us kind of create a whole picture of like what what is missing from the content that we're supposed to be delivering to people and what should we be generating. And so we asked for feedback about that, I think 2 weeks ago at the last outreach meeting. I don't think we've gotten any. So I'm leaning to just go with Graham's blog post when he has it ready. But if we think we could start sooner and write a blog post and promote that one first and then do the Contrib blog post in the next newsletter, we could do that too. So I don't know if anyone thinks there's anything more urgent we should focus on. If not, we'll just proceed as planned. Okay, so that covers newsletter. Then we'll just use the next newsletter to support the next blog post. And the next blog post is currently going to be Graham's post on Contrib. There's also some other stuff we can promote on the blog. Like once we get the forum up, we could put a post about having forum up. Once we get our new homepage done, we could put some kind of a post up about the kinds of stuff that we're highlighting on the homepage. And I am working on a Drupal 6 to Backdrop upgrade right now. I thought it might be useful to do sort of a more technical, like how to get from Drupal 6 to Backdrop blog post too. I'm not sure that's the kind of thing we need to put into a newsletter, but I would like to document it somewhere, and I thought the blog might be a good place to do that. And I've got a couple of like nice text documents that walk through all of the steps that I think could be handy for other people who are trying to do the same thing. And I'll post those on GitHub, and I want to put links to them somewhere. So it's plans in the works. Other things we want to do for Backdrop include creating videos, and this could either be like a showcase style video that highlights something somebody's done, or it could be a tutorial style video that talks about how to solve a particular problem on Backdrop. Brian volunteered to help us work on some of those videos a while back. I know he's been really busy. He emailed me this week to say that he's now starting to get some more time available and wants to jump back into that. So hopefully we'll start getting some video content that we can put both in our YouTube channel and promote on the website or via the newsletter, however else soon. But I guess that's not really no updates. That's really like maybe we'll have videos soon in terms of updates. There's also a couple of other things don't have updates. We still are kind of in a holding status with Swag. We have all of the stuff that we need for people to be able to purchase things off the website or make donations via the website, and we send them clothing. We have artwork for business cards that people can print if they want to, but recommend not use Vistaprint. We're still trying to figure out what an advertising campaign looks like. I did some research after our last outreach meeting. It looks like it would be about $2 a day to advertise in the Drupal namespace. It looks like there are the way Google Ads work is that they kind of take everybody's bid and then they sell the ad space to the highest bidder. There are a lot of people who are really high bidders in the Drupal namespace. So I tried looking for specific terms like Drupal alternative or Drupal 6 or Drupal 7 long-term support, that sort of thing. And the numbers of people would be reaching vastly decreased, but it did become more affordable. But it's still $2 a day. We're looking at about $1,000 a year, and we don't have budget for that right now. So I think we should come up with a plan for how to tell if our advertising is like a specific landing page we wanted to send them to, or we want them to watch an intro video. We can track if they're doing that. We can tell if our advertising is working. And then it would be worthwhile to set aside that budget and say, okay, we're going to sell X sweatshirts, and then we're going to invest that money in advertising and see if we can get the word out about Backdrop and hopefully be able to fit it all together. But right now, I think without any way to tell if it's working, it's going to be a very expensive waste of money. Oh, I also talked to Facet about how to tell if ads are working, and they had some good ideas about ways that we can come up with of actually tracking that. So hopefully we can get moving on that too and try and figure out how to get ads up in a meaningful way sooner rather than later. Events we had since the last outreach meeting, I think Drupal Stanford happened, and I think the Northeastern Developer Summit also happened last weekend. I know we had people at both of those events, and I think they went pretty well. Upcoming, we have nothing super urgent, but in May we've got a couple of new conferences we'll probably have people at. Wes also submitted a recommendation for a conference that was specifically geared towards higher education, and they have an open call for proposals. The conference is in October right now, and I submitted one, but the ticket price to attend that conference was kind of astronomical, with $700. And presenters don't speak for free, although they do get a credit. So I'm not sure if that session is accepted, if we'll actually be able to go, but I figured it would be good to at least put one in while we can put one in. And then if there's somebody there anyway, maybe we can figure out to get them to give the session instead. But it will require some communicating with conference organizers if the session's accepted to find out if that's possible. So at least we have the shot, a choice now of doing it, but we'll have to play that one by ear. Let's see. That's it for events, I think. Does anyone have anything else they want to talk about related to any of those topics, or anything we haven't talked about?
Well, the event that I think that I wish we were in a better position for was the Online News Association, which is a bunch of, pretty much, from what I could tell, it's like the biggest conference for people who are doing online publications. So I feel like if Backdrop is in a better position for people to use sort of out of the box for, you know, online magazines and things like that, that would be able, that were an alternative. Because I know like the WordPress people are there every year trying to get people to use WordPress for their sites, and that if we could do the same for Backdrop, I think we could, that would be a good source of users for us.
Is this the one that's in Washington, D.C. in October?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the conference is fairly expensive to go to. It's like $700, $800, $900, but they basically have you know, the technology midway type deal where it's like, you know, they have an area where it's a bunch of tables and different people pitching their products. And from what I can see, it's actually pretty popular amongst the people to go and look at all the technology, because it seems like, you know, probably more so for people who aren't technologists, like they have all these like problems with their current systems and are constantly on the lookout for things that solve that problem. So,
do you know if there's a specific fee in order to have one of those tables?
There is. I'm not finding it on the website right now, but that's on my radar. So I feel like I don't know what I'm doing professionally. I'm looking at some positions and stuff now and new projects and things, and unfortunately none of those are news related, unfortunately. So, but like, you know, if I have time to work on maybe putting together distribution for for sort of a publishing package distribution, and if anyone's interested in helping out with that, this might be a good source of users for us. But yeah, but that's on my radar, so I'm not sure if anyone else is interested in pursuing this segment.
Yeah, it looks super interesting. I like the idea of having like a place where people can look at software specifically to suit their needs. I think that sounds really appealing, especially if we could be like, look, here's WordPress, here's Backdrop, and people could see them side by side and compare different things. But yeah, the question would be, how much does that cost? And if the attendance at the conference is really expensive, it would be great if somebody had a job that would pay for them to go there. But if not, it's probably like the higher ed one where, you know, there's a big ticket price, and without some kind of assistance, it's hard to just send people.
Yeah, I feel like we need to build at least one publication site in Backdrop too. So I'd say let's keep our ears out for any sort of publication that's looking for a CMS and don't want to pay big bucks for, you know, stuff. But it's also competitive with, like, you know, Medium going after them and other stuff. So their editing experience is a bit better than what we currently provide. So obviously we have more flexibility if they want to do custom things. So it's a trade-off, but
yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, if you do find out what it costs to have a table, let us know.
Okay.
And here's an idea too. And all the sites that we make or I make, they're all education related, but it's all that K-12 market, not higher ed. But we steal from higher ed a lot as far as what they're doing is very similar to what the K-12 market is doing. And I haven't really thought about looking to conferences that, and there's a ton of tech conferences for K-12 market. And I know a lot of the those who build school sites are always there, but a lot of schools can't afford what they're selling. I mean, you're talking, a university may have several $100,000 to throw at a website, but a school may have $10,000. And a lot of these people are selling are in the $20,000, $30,000 range. So that might be an untapped market that this could very well feed. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that sounds like a really good idea. And if you do hear of any upcoming conferences specifically for those K-12 schools, see if you can find out like how a technology platform can get involved. Like if they can have a table like at the event Mike was talking about where people can see it, or if you have to sponsor the event, or if they have talks that you can give and demo the software. But yeah, if you could do a little bit of research the next time you hear about one of those, or at least kick it over to someone who can do the research if you don't know what questions to ask, that would be great. I think that that's kind of exactly where we're going to be fitting, is in those like tens of thousands of dollars of websites rather than hundreds of thousands of dollar websites. And yeah, finding a market of people who are eager for that software would be really good for us.
Well,
I found the.
Go ahead.
No, I found the ONA pricing for their standard table, it's $2,500, which is kind of big, but they also have a startup alley for organizations or companies that are less than 2 years old. That's like $500 a table, and get a bunch of yeah, it's on their page, but and that's still quite a bit, but yeah, so it's, yeah, I feel like this comes down to like, we need more development shops using Backdrop, because I feel like if a web development shop was interested in doing this and using Backdrop, like that'd be sort of like not a big deal for them. But I feel like, we don't have the financial resources and stuff maybe to do that ourselves.
Yeah. Or if we had someone who was in DC, like $500 is not too bad. But we would also need to figure out if we qualified for that startup alley table or not. If we're not a company for like an open source project, how does that work?
Well, they have an application that you need to fill out for it, and they're due May 1st, so it's coming up. So,
okay.
One of the good things about the K-12 conferences, they tend to be very inexpensive because they're not, it's a nonprofit. They're trying to keep the prices low so the schools can actually afford to show up. And so most of those are like in the $200 to $300 range, unless it's a national conference, like then you're going to be in the $500 to $700 range. But they're not crazy expensive. I'll start poking around in that venue. But something that Mike said might be worth my doing would be to create an educational site for using Backdrop, because it's one thing to go to a tech conference with people who understand Drupal and say, this is Backdrop. It's another to go into a room full of principals, superintendents, and treasurers and say, this is Backdrop. They're not going to get it. But if they see a site that's done in Backdrop, even if it's a fictional school, and I've certainly made enough of these that it's just basically copying what I do in Drupal, doing the same thing in Backdrop. I don't know. What do you think about me putting something like that together?
That would be great.
Yeah. And I guess we should continue building sort of the showcase and try to get more sites in there doing different things.
Well, it might be such too that because I've talked about at work that there might be a school site, a real school that we could build in Backdrop, and I could get paid. But do it.
That would be ideal.
That sounds like the best situation.
But it's a huge untapped marketplace, and they're all over the place as far as what they're doing. And I always thought Drupal would be a good fit, and we've proven it here with 23 school districts. They're using it. It's just, I don't know that they want to move to Drupal 8. So,
yeah.
I don't know that we want to move to Drupal 8.
Drupal 8's a beast. Yeah, so that's, I have something else once we're done with talking about conferences.
I think we're probably done. Anyone else have anything about conferences? No. Okay.
Have you guys been following the drama today with the Drupals?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think that should be discussed in the broadcast. Just I'm not sure how it's going to go, but I have a feeling it's not going to be good.
You want me to stop?
Yeah, I don't want to get into specifics of it other than there's actual people who feel they've been discriminated against based on their personal lifestyle. And I just figured, in terms of outreach, this might be a good opportunity to just, maybe put out some messaging saying how Backdrop is an inclusive community who is welcoming, people of all.
I was thinking the same thing too, and I was motivated today to work on our code of conduct. But let's talk about that. I mean, I don't know. That is outreach related?
Yeah, it is. It totally is outreach related. I feel like that's not very. I don't know. I think it's a great idea to say those things, and to have our code of conduct be updated and be public, and to publicize, diversity and inclusivity. But I don't think that we should frame it in exactly this, doing it right now would be a bad idea, because there's already so many things that are happening, and I don't think that we should try to benefit off of the situation in any way.
Yeah, I think what we should do is work on our code of conduct and get our acts together. But I don't think we need to make it a public thing and come out and be like, hey, we're different. I think we should just be like, let's make sure we have ourselves covered and then move on.
You should be like, hey, we're awesome. But now, not exactly the time.
Yeah, totally. Yep, you got it. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Timing is everything, but having a code of conduct would be great, and to tout it as much as we can.
Yeah. Anyway, there's lots of people online saying, I'm outraged by the Drupal community and I don't want to be a part of it. So we might want to maybe just keep track of who's saying that sort of thing too, also, to maybe, maybe approach people individually as well and say, hey, we love to have you on our project if you're looking for something to contribute to.
This was also one of the things that I think we kind of flubbed when Backdrop initially was announced, is that doing any kind of attempting to garner all of the upset people all into one group is a bad foundation for a project. So basically, you don't want to just get a bunch of angry people together and say, we're going to build something, because it's not the kind of people you actually really want to attract. Although I see what you're saying, that actually getting people that are that actually really care about values, getting together is a really great thing, actually. But getting together a bunch of upset people is not.
I feel like the people who are upset at this are people who would share our values of inclusivity and diversity.
But they're also upset right now.
Yeah.
But they're also,
anyway, I'm saying we might want to keep track of anyone who we know and we respect, who are feeling increasingly I mean, one of the main reasons that I'm involved with this project is just because I am not a huge fan of the Drupal community and how they handle lots of situations kind of like this, and how they don't make people feel as welcome as they probably should. So yeah, I mean, that's why I'm here, and that's why I figure like lots of other people would be interested in joining as well.
Okay.
Okay. Great. Is there anything else that we should talk about?
I did have a couple questions, not along those lines, but the videos that you were talking about, you said somebody was going to do how-to videos. I think Tim said something.
We don't actually have a list of like, these are the videos that are going to be made. We're just going to have some general ideas of what we would like to see. But Brian, who was responsible for the Bootfitters site that I worked on like a year ago or whatever, he makes video content for his job all the time, and offered, if he had time, to make video content on Backdrop. He's like the webmaster, so he has a bunch of technical skills. He takes care of WordPress sites and Backdrop sites, and he had a Drupal site. And he's like, oh, I really like Backdrop. I'd love to show people what I could do with it. And I was like, that would be perfect. But then he hasn't had time to make any videos. So I don't know if his tutorials are going to be like more technical, like this is how I configure the server to deal with config deployment, or if it's going to be like, this is how I build my views. But he has the skills to do all of those things. It's just a matter of what he has time to get to. And I think if we had action for him, that might be useful, because sometimes people are like, I don't know where to start. And if we're like, make a video on views, that might be a good place for him to get started.
Okay, and the second question I had, the strategy map I went through and looked at, those are open for anybody to grab as far as blog topics.
Yeah, if anyone wants to write one would be great. Also, if you look at that kind of whole picture and you see an area that's missing, like, oh, there's no content on layouts or whatever, I don't know, that's even maybe too technical. But you see an area that's missing, like I want to hear about how this benefits K-12 schools or something. We can add stuff to that map too. And the big picture was just kind of like, do we need to back up blog posts with newsletter? Like, how does the different type of content tie together? And so creating a map of like, we're going to have videos, we're going to have blog posts, and we're going to have newsletters helps us kind of see the whole in a way where I was just like, we need blog posts, who has a blog post? And it doesn't kind of fit into a bigger strategy. So if you want to write on any of the topics you see there, that would be fantastic. Those are ideas that they came up with that they thought we were missing content, but they're also open to us adding if we think we need more stuff that's missing. So any feedback you have in that at all would be great.
Okay, so this isn't necessarily the topics that they're going to write about. They're just topics that they see that need to be written about.
Yeah, and if we don't have anyone who can write those topics, they also have resources available to help us write those blog posts. But I thought if we have people in our community who are passionate about them already, we should leverage that. And if we can't find anything, then we have someone to help us create that content.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, anything else on content, outreach, strategy, events? Okay. I'm gonna get started on a code of conduct. I mean, to be fair, I got started on it last week, but I feel urgency, so.
I'm going to run to the hardware store, and then I'll be back on, hopefully, before the dev thing.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you guys, Mike and Tom, for joining the meeting. And we will get back together in 20 minutes to do development tasks. So thank you, everybody. Goodbye.